What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is Brooklyn-based rapper AKAI SOLO. We talked about childhood trips to Barnes & Noble that turned into trips to the theater, our mutual appreciation for the movie Drive, how a soundtrack can change your opinion of a movie, rappers who rap really well about one subject, the similarities between Black Dynamite and Deadpool, and the creative process behind his latest album, True Sky, produced entirely by Navy Blue. Come fuck with us. What's cracking? Welcome back to, this is number 9. Yeah. This is Real Notes number 9. Wow, shit is crazy to say. Well, welcome back, Real Notes. My name is Dylan. This is CineMasai. Call me whatever the fuck you want, I guess. I don't know. I've like I said before, it's just second nature. I don't know why I say this, but I say it. We got a really special guest on the show today. Someone that I've been fucking with for the last couple of years. Someone who reached out to me on some friendly shit, and we've been on some friendly shit for quite some time. This man is a lot of shit. This man raps. This man produces. This man makes movies in his bedroom. If you listen to his latest project, and he'll tell you that himself. we got the maestro AKAI SOLO in the place to be this week. My G, how you doing? Thank you for coming on my shit. I appreciate it.
Nah, man, I appreciate you, especially after your run right now. Like, you just, every fucking guest is like top tier. The conversations matter, and it's like, it doesn't feel like some microwavable shit. So I mean, thank you for making me feel like I fit into this framework.
Man, no, of course you do. Like, like you're making some of the craziest music coming out of the East Coast right now. Like, not even just New York, but like you're making like vital shit. And I want to talk to vital people in a kind of vital way. I don't know. It's just crazy that this isn't an idea that like is happening now, and like we're talking about it. So I'm still kind of geeked about that. So yeah, like thanks again, bro. Like,
Oh, no problem, bro.
wow.
And it's
So
just beautiful to watch this shit come out of your head. Sorry to derail again, but just
no, it's
beautiful
cool.
to remember watching it come out of your head, and then now it's in the real world, and then it's like it's being received so well. I'm just mad happy for you.
Yo, man, yeah, and you've been so supportive too. Like you really, really have, and like I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Just like on some like good person shit. So thank you. I'm gonna start this with the same question I ask everybody when we do these. Phrased a little differently because I'm finally doing that now. So, what's the first movie experience you remember having? Like not like it could be the first time you went to the movies, or like the first time you saw a movie like at home or at someone else's house. Like, what was your first experience with a movie?
I feel like it was probably the first thing that comes to my head for some strange reason is Spider-Man. Like the first one out of the Sam Raimi trilogy. Obviously, I had to have seen movies before then because that's terrible. But nothing else really like stuck to me. Like Shrek, I had Shrek on VHS, but like fuck Shrek. I think Shrek is dumb as hell, and it's like for what it means to like childhoods and like I don't know some sort of external representation of fantasy happiness. That's cool that people are able to go to a place with a donkey that sounds like Eddie Murphy and have mad fun. But like I wasn't able to like rewatch that shit. Every time I rewatched that movie, a part of me died. So I guess as a result of that, just from how fucking bad I felt it was, like I began memorizing what was. It got to the point where the movie, and it was just like I would know when it was on. I would hear the fucking DreamWorks shit in the other room, and I'm like, who's turned this on? Like go to TNT or something. But that's probably why I repressed Shrek. But
So, real quick, okay. So first of all, that's funny as hell to me because have you seen I Am Legend before?
yes.
So you remember in I Am Legend how Will Smith was doing the same shit when Alice Braga and her son were at the TV and he was just like doing all of Eddie Murphy's lines and shit like
From Shrek? Shrek was
Yeah,
already I Am Legend. That's hilarious.
yeah. There's like a whole scene where it's where and like it's the scene where it's supposed to be showing that like his whole psyche just broke. So it's just him like staring blank face at the TV and doing like the ones.
Poseidon.
Yeah, doing the one scene where Donkey's talking about making waffles. It's the scene where Shrek and Donkey are in the house talking about I'm making waffles.
Yeah.
So that just reminded me of that. And um
Yeah, the
I
movie
just
that I'm most proud of recalling is Spider-Man. My aunt took me to the theater, and like there would be this ritual type of thing where like I was just getting in. I was beginning to get into anime, and I had a homie at school. His name was Alfredo. Bless that dude. He had manga, and he had volume 4 of Naruto, and he let me borrow that shit. I read the entire thing at lunch, and after I did that, I was just like, "What the fuck is this? This is crazy." And I knew what Dragon Ball Z and stuff was, but like that, I'd never gotten such an offbeat like tangent, like ninjas, this blonde haired ninja and everything. So I told my aunt about that, and there was a Barnes and Nobles right next to the movie theater. I would go to the movie theater on Court Street, and every time before the movie would end, like we'd get the tickets, we'd have some like layover time, and she'd take me there and she'd buy me a book, she'd buy me a manga, and I would read that shit before the movie even started. I'd finish the whole thing before the trailers even got there. So it became this ritual. Every time we would go to that movie theater and I would see anything, like I would go upstairs, do my little rounds, and then I'd bring her something, and then she'd buy it for me. And like she always wanted me to be reading and shit, so it was just like it worked. I was able to dupe her for a while that this was like thermodynamics or some shit. But it was just like and I mean she knew obviously they were graphic novels, but just the fact that like that her nephew was able to put his head in some type of literature was I guess like the saving grace on why she was so on board with it. But yeah, Spider-Man, that was it. Like I came out that theater like over. I was like, nah, this is crazy.
Yeah, bro. We all did. Like that was yeah, like I remember when that movie came out too, because that was like '02, I want to say. And like and cause like that was cause it was like that and like the X-Men movie that kind of like really blew everything up, like for us at least.
Bro,
Like
when Cyclops died, bro, like first 5 minutes of that movie, she turned that man into dust. I was like,
oh
no!
and his fucking glasses just float
Bro,
by.
God just floated. I'm like, that's all that's left.
Yeah.
Get this man out of here. Zip him up.
Yeah, and like that's the best scene in that movie too, because that's from the third movie, and that movie's garbage. But
Bro, that whole movie is dumb as hell just because it's like, I mean, I get Dark Phoenix a bit. My whole problem with like the cinematic conversions of these movies is that what they choose to not be consistent with from the source material is like detrimental to the entire progression of the plot to me. I'm just like, yo,
yeah,
this element was the whole reason why they beat Thanos. And you took that element out. So like that's why he smoked y'all for 2/3 of the movie.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but
and then even the whole like death thing not being in Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, like I kind of would have. I really like those two movies, but I would have appreciated it more if they had just like committed to the whole like Thanos wanted to destroy half the universe because of death. Like it's just like okay, like I just wanted to do that. It's like he's scary because he's already committed to the thinking that he's like right, and that's what makes him a really
cemented in his ideology. There's no changing Thanos. Like that's the thing. Yeah, that's what makes him so crazy. It's like he's gonna die on that hill or take
right. Exactly. I just think the death thing would have added like it just would have given it a little more like depth. I want to say I don't know. Like I just it's just
did they sorry to cut you off? Did they
no, that's cool.
Relationship with Death in any of his movies? I don't remember.
Not yet.
It's like that's key to me because he's a dickhead.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a whole bit like later on in the comics where like he has a relationship with Death, and then they break up, and she never wants to see him again, so she makes it that he literally cannot die. Like not even off the healing factor shit no more. Like he just literally can't die. Like
conceptual type 1 immortality, like broken, and he didn't even ask.
Yo, like it's yeah, like that's um excuse me. I want to come back. I want to put a pin in that real quick because I wanted to go back to the whole like you getting into anime because of seeing. So like you reading manga for the first time, that was the thing that happened directly after you saw the first Spider-Man?
That happened right like before. Like, this was things that was happening to me like when I was at school, like socializing with my
Okay.
class. One of my
Okay.
classmates had a manga. Like I was already familiar with like the Toonami lineup, and I saw slivers of Adult Swim, so I had my like sprinkle, and it was that. And then after that, it was like it was a domino effect of events that led up to me seeing that movie, and which was what gave me the the ingredients to know what I wanted from Barnes and Nobles. And it was like it was a trip to like the New York Hall of Science, and there was an employee there, and he had a Naruto headband tied around his neck. And like in hindsight, I now know he was like a typical like black anime fan. Like he had like blue in his hair, like all that shit. And he just blew our minds. He was like, you guys like Naruto? You like Sasuke? You, he could you imagine if you left the village? And we were just like this high, like, what the fuck? And like, this is when YouTube was coming up too. So like
Right.
I just got the computer into my room and finessed it. And I was just like, I just sat there on YouTube watching AMVs. And with all of this like content that was not being broadcasted on my screen. So that's when I realized, oh wow, Japan. Whoa. And that's when I found like manga on like illegal sites. And I'm like, wow, there's like 300 chapters here. Why am I reading volume 4? And then like that was what like threw me in that hole. So by the time that all happened and I had inculcated all of that into my brain, every time I would go to the movies, I was just like, all right, so can we peek in here real quick? And it was kind of like a dual wielding type of thing with like the American the Western comics influence with like Spider-Man holding it down and like the occasional Batman Flash thing. And it was
Right.
just like Naruto was strong for a minute. Cause I got into Naruto before One Piece. It took me 3 times to get into One Piece. So it was like it's just ironic because One Piece is like the thing that people like associate me with. And that like that's the thing that I run with. But like,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. So in that case, like this is kind of like a mutation of the second question I usually ask, but like, so like on top of the first movie that made you fall in love with movies, what was the first what was the first anime you remember watching that made you be like, shit, like this is my shit? Like,
Well, the first I'll do the anime thing first because this is a movie thing. So I want to end it on the movie thing. The first anime that made me fall in love with the shit was probably it's a toss up between like it could be Rurouni Kenshin, it could be Yu Yu Hakusho, and it could be Dragon Ball Z. And it's only because there are different parts of all of those shows that kind of had me be like, and then there were certain parts of all those shows that had me like, nah, I'm never watching Major Glory or Dexter's Laboratory. Like, I'm never watching no fucking American thing again. But it was like it was definitely those, and it's for the same reasons that anybody will tell you. It was just a breath of fresh air, and the everything was just so much more fluid compared to like Western animation. And that's not to take away anything from Western animation or Western teams, because Ben 10 is cool and like Man of Action is far.
yeah.
I be looking at them credits and there are mad Asian people on those teams. So like America not low, but I digress. But yeah. And as far as like movies go, the movie that made me fall in love with movies is man, it's crazy because I feel like I saw this movie so much later in my life, but I watched it off of a recommendation from someone that I really respect, and I wasn't disappointed. And I just felt like it's a very good example of a movie that knows it's a movie and takes itself seriously, adhering to that thought. And that was Drive. I don't know if you've ever seen it,
Mm.
but and like a Place Beyond the Pines. Like Ryan
Both
Gosling is
both of
like
those are tight.
I feel like Ryan Gosling is like the type of like white person that most white actors would try to be if they thought they were playing it safe. Like I don't really see too many crazy things about Ryan Gosling. He kind of like minds his business for the most part, and then he gets his bag. he to the point where he gets roles where he doesn't have to do much. He barely talks in either of those movies.
Yeah.
It's like, and I fuck with that. So like, because those types of things give the universe and the things happening around the protagonist the opportunity to carry the dialogue and set the tone. So I feel like when your universe is compelling enough or alive enough or seemingly alive enough to be able to carry on the narration or the progression of the plot, as opposed to like the actual carbon bodies that you put there to do all those human things, I think that's cool. And just everything down to the way it was shot, shading of the colors and the scenes, to the dialogue, like as brief as it may have felt, dialogue should always feel necessary. And I felt like a lot of that shit was necessary. And the soundtrack was beautiful. So
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
so like that shit was fire.
yeah, Drive in particular. Like that was like that was a head bust moment for me for sure. Like, cause like I forget what year that came out, but that was like like that was like the movie where I was like, cause like I had seen Ryan Gosling in a handful of things. Like you see The Notebook and all that other shit, and I'm like, but this
I've been dodging that.
fix it because I like it. It's fine. It's not great, but like it's just one of those movies you got to watch at least once. You know,
Okay.
like watch their relationship play out, and my man died over a table of chess. It's a weird movie. So it's a really weird movie. But like Drive was really something. Like I had never seen an action movie like that before, and like I very much like considered like I remember when it came out, and a lot of people I knew compared it to like The Transporter, like the Jason Statham movies,
That's
like
interesting.
just because like that was what somebody had told me, and I was like, okay, let me go see what this is about, and just the way it's like you said, just like the way they shot it, like there's a whole bunch of scenes where like everything is kind of in like this day glow kind of shit, and it just it looks beautiful, and like all the dialogue is like you said, it's necessary. Like Ryan Gosling barely talks, but you know, like you got Alfred Brooks, and you got Carey Mulligan and Oscar Isaac in one of his first big roles, and you got like Ron Perlman. Like they really fill so much of that detail in there. And then I think Driver, yeah, Ryan Gosling doesn't even have a name. His name is
Name
just his name is just
Driver.
Driver. Like and
It's crazy.
yeah, and like I don't know, it's just they just like that movie proved to me at that point in time that you could do so much with so little, with like the with like the barest elements. You could just create this like really captivating, like thrilling body of work. Like it's really amazing just how much they managed to do. I mean, like they had like a budget obviously, but
Right.
like they really sanded it down to like, what do we need here? What's the most we can do with these four things, you know? And like that shit is dope to me. Like it's not easy to make that kind of movie, and to make it well too. Like so yeah, that shit kind of blew my mind. I won't lie.
I don't think there's been a movie like that since. I don't know, maybe if I just haven't watched enough, then you would probably be better at being able to say if that's true or not. But like I haven't seen it since.
Like
Like
I don't know if I've seen a movie that kind of like fits into that everything the way that this one does. Like there hasn't, like there have been plenty of movies that have kind of like fit the aesthetic, but none that gave me the same feeling of watching Drive for the first time. And that goes for all of all bros, Nicholas Winding Refn. That goes for all of his movies, because he made the Neon Demon and what the fuck is it called? Only God Forgives. Like all of those, like none of those movies are Drive, and I think that's good, because it's just like there really can't be another one of those. I don't know.
touche.
Well, I mean there probably could be, but it's just interesting how that maybe. Then again, I also haven't seen it in years, so maybe it hasn't aged super well. But like I've seen it a handful of times, and I remember being like, "This is cool, this is dope" each time. And like that soundtrack, like you said, bro, the soundtrack is just that shit was like, that's what took it over the top. Like it really felt like a lived in world that was like, it was like somebody plucked this entire like area from the 80s and just put it in 2010.
Right.
Like it was just so, it was like anachronistic in that way, and it was just really weird and like really intriguing to me. And you know, like, oh yeah, Bryan Cranston's in it too, and he gets his wrist slit up. Yeah, good movie. Good movie. I don't know why I thought about that just now.
You're really good. You're like a person that knows you can refer to actors in a movie by their real names, and like I feel like that's such a crazy superpower, bro. Because I could only do that with like four actors, and then sometimes I'm wrong about the actor, so I like put the wrong name to the wrong face. But like that's fire, bro. Like you see for that movie, I can only do that with Ryan Gosling. After that, everyone else is kind of driver. I'm just like, all right,
Yeah, like,
but nah, man, yo. Yeah, that
that could.
movie that movie made me care about soundtracks. I think
Mm,
I had always known that like music and like soundscaping and all those things are integral to helping frame the entire thing that you want to convey in a film. But like I feel like I was just like an idiot kid like taking in movies up until that point, up until I sat there and watched Drive, and then like but I was biased because I walked into that shit like based off of the recommendation and the nature of it. I was already like setting myself up to be like more responsive to like important elements because I trusted this person's recommendation so much. So it was just like I was just positively rewarded. I was like, all right, so I should be listening to like what are the things like in my head. I was like, all right, so like what makes a movie good? What do I think makes a good movie? What did this person like? And now where do I find the middle ground? And then I was like, all right, it should have like good music. So then when I'm listening to the music, I'm like, nah, this is great music. I'm like, all right, check. And then it's like, all right, what else should a movie have? Like, characters with depth, necessary dialogue. When I listened, I was like, oh, this is better, or this is yeah. And then I just transitioned through the movie that way. And then by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, oh fuck, like this is the average. This shit is bonkers. But yeah, there's this one specific song, and I think it's by Desire, and it's like when he's driving or some shit. That doesn't convey anything. But like yeah, that song in particular, that moment, that energy, like that shit's on other movies and their entire score to me. Like it's just like the power conveyed in that one pairing. Like it was just like nah, man. And I don't even think, and I be trying to hold my tongue when I say shit like that because I don't consider myself like a film aficionado or a film buff, so I don't want to step on the toes of a person that really like does triple aerial backflips over film theory and shit. I'm like, you don't even know what you're saying. Go write raps. But I was just like, nah, it made me feel nice. And like,
yeah,
it still makes me feel nice. But like that, you made a great point. I should rewatch Drive. I'm gonna do that. I only
and
watched it
like
once. Too.
right, yeah, I've only seen it a handful of times, and like that's and like a movie making you feel good is really the most important part. Like we could sit here and talk about like theory and symbolism and all that shit all day, and like shot composition, but like if you feel good watching a movie, that's really all that should matter. Like even if it's bad, like there are plenty of quote unquote bad movies that I love to watch just because they make me feel good, and
Mm.
that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's not something that anybody should feel. No, nobody should feel like bad about that unless the person who made it is a bad person. But even then, like like if it makes you feel good, like that's yours. Like that feeling you get from watching that shit is yours, and like that's cool.
Facts.
That's fucking cool. Um, so at this point, you've kind of started to bring in these various elements that kind of started to inform your personality and the things that you like at this point. So talk to me about when you first started making music and how that kind of rolled into everything.
I started making music seriously, kind of like around my freshman year of college, and it started high school for me, like banging on the table and rapping really
Of
bad with
course.
friends. And yeah, I at some I always English is my favorite subject. I fuck with words. I fuck with sentences and literary devices and all that stuff. So like I can't ever say that I properly applied myself in school ever, but the thing that I always felt like would get the most out of me was always like those things. Like I fucked with poetry and shit like that. So it felt like a sort of natural thing to try and do. It didn't feel like I was reaching very far outside of myself and doing something that didn't feel natural, but it still felt adventurous because it was definitely outside of my comfort zone. Because like I feel introverted by nature, and like I don't like doing like the things that like that hip hop and being an MC demands are like in direct conflict with how I'd like to exist. So like
Mm,
that's what I mean with like that challenge. But as far as like the cathartic feeling and the whole thing of expressing something genuine and true that that may or may not speak to a larger conversation in other people's worlds, that type of thing was interesting to me. So I just kept at it from then, and I live under a rock, so I feel like my development is like backwards compared to like a lot of my peers or most people. Like I had like I listened to Illmatic for like the first time in like the last couple years. Like I didn't listen to it growing up. Like I had Biggie bumped into the car seat with my aunt on some peripheral shit because she would listen to it when she would drive over the bridge because Who Shot You would help ease her anxiety.
interesting.
Yeah, but so it's like it's that type of shit. But like I had to like willingly and with and intentionally do my research, and like that's kind of always how I end up like informing myself. Like I always feel like I'm always all the way over there. So and I hear things or I'll see things that are interesting, and like I might not have the resources or the structure necessary to help inform that shit naturally. The cousins, the access to like what's hot or whatever the fuck it is. So
Right.
my shit happens like after everybody leaves, and I'm just like yeah yeah. I'm like what's going on, and then I peep and I look at the materials and I'm like what's interesting, but yeah. So I kind of just my whole shit is just a consecutive amount of like trial and error, and like it just started from rapping badly to like trying to rap less badly in front of like small little pockets of like extracurricular clubs and shit like in between classes when I was in college. And then I started like asking people like how do people do this? And I started going to open mics and shit. And I wasn't good. I didn't feel like I was good at recording or anything for a while. So all I really did was freestyle. That was the only thing I was able to do. So I would just freestyle in places, and like that was how I would try to cement my first stake of like intrigue. Like, all right, who the hell is this weird ass nigga? He's all right because he could rap kind of okay. And then meanwhile, I was in my crib writing all these things that are like near and dear to my heart. And I was doing those things, and I just kept at it. I met people, and yeah,
Right. And yeah, I know you've also mentioned in the past that that you had a that you had like a teacher who would like play y'all Aesop Rock in classes and shit too as well.
yes, I had
Like
my sixth grade math teacher, Mr. Chaudhry. Shout out, Mr. Chaudhry. Doesn't even realize the seed planted. But like, yeah, and that's funny because that's before high school. But like, that's an example of something that I feel like was like given to me, and like, and I didn't even know what to do with it, and it sat in my subconscious for years because I revisited Aesop Rock like in college. So
mm,
so it's like the reason why that should appeal to us, like off of the popcorn thing, was just because we had a classmate named Shamar. Like I didn't know who Vort Omega was or anything, and
right.
but it was like the beat. It sounded cool, and it felt like we were deviating. Anything that made us feel like we were deviating from regular instruction was always going to be welcome. So like it was just like it got through all of the lasers. It just felt like it was easy, and yeah, that shit just stuck. Like it's just like even like in hindsight, it was just like Aesop Rock's approach. Like my exposure to rap at that point, uninformed or not, it
Yeah.
was nowhere close to what nickel plated pocket sounds like. And it's just like because at that point, I'm familiar with 106 in Park, you know, so it's like and at the point in the 2000s, like we got I think what Jay-Z's doing some things. Maybe he's more like mogul mode, but like I was seeing more of the South. Like whatever you could have whatever you like.
Yeah.
lollipop, all of these symbols that I could not identify with. Like aside from the fact that like, all right, we're black, but like this is not my lifestyle. This is not how I envision my lifestyle. Even the things that you're saying, whether they're clever to me or not, it's just like I can't put any stake in them because I can't relate. So it's kind of just like a lot of it just felt like background music to me. And like I couldn't do anything with it. And it was like, and to try to do something with something that didn't feel true to me felt inauthentic, even if I couldn't
Hmm.
word that as a child. But I was just like, this takes too much work to do all of this stuff to try and like feel like I'm keeping up with what's going on because I don't see myself in this thing. And not that it has to be about me, but I just have to feel like there's a reason. And yeah, and that doesn't change until funny enough until Cuddy. And yeah, well, yeah, I say it a lot in interviews. What Kanye West did to a lot of people, that's what Cudi did for me. Because I had already missed Kanye, and I hadn't listened to none of that shit. And Lupe helped. Like I listened to hip
Right.
hop my life a lot on repeat when I had a little shitty iPod. So it was like it was just that type of stuff. It was those two, and then when I revisited the shit like Aesop, and then I started learning about Doom and shit. I was like, oh, I was bugging. Then I found Black Star, and I'm like, oh. Then at that point, I'm not as dumb. So like my worldview is expanded. I can take into things in a better context and in a more appropriate one, and I can glean what's necessary from it. And like I can realize how all these things are just different vantage points of a necessary dialogue, speaking to a perspective of oppression or enduring such that is native to blackness everywhere, and I can definitely relate to that. So like
Mm.
I was able to alleviate that the blocks in my brain from helping me like internalize it. And I was like, all right, we here. And then after that, it was just like, oh nah, this shit is crazy.
Wow. Yeah, it's actually wild you bring all of that up because I had kind of a similar trajectory when I was growing up, except that I was like very deep into a lot of shit that was happening in the South at the time. Like it was like that was like all I wanted to hear. And then I got to high school and I heard Illmatic and I heard Mad Villainy and the Mouse and the Mask when I was in middle school. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And then Lupe happened. And then Cuddy's original run happened. Cause like I'm not really a big Cuddy fan outside of the first Man on the Moon and like everything he did before that. So like for me, it was like Day and Night, Make Her Say, Pursuit of Happiness. Like that was all the shit. And then but then I just became like the fucking like stubborn fucking like backpack dude for like all of high school. Like I missed out on a lot of Wayne's early run because I was just like, nah, I'm not fucking with that. Like this ain't no try. I was like one of those kids. I was the worst. But
Yeah, I was
I
like,
was
all
gonna.
these dudes say, bitch, these aren't even clever bars. Lupe's rapping. This is whack.
And that's
I was
so
like,
funny because that's literally what Lupe said on Hurt Me Soul. Like it's literally he talked about that. So I was like, man, like I was such a little fucking pissant. But what's it called? Like but yeah, so yeah, I was gonna ask when like the blocks had kind of left your head because like that's like I think it's really valuable to be I think it's really valuable to gain that perspective as you grow older because and that's really rare because most people start to kind of become a little more closed off as they get older and they kind of just like get set in what they like and to see your mind open more as you got older as opposed to kind of like receding into itself more like that's dope because it doesn't happen all the time.
good looks.
Yeah, no doubt. um So I feel like you've kind of already answered this question, but let's go in a little more detail. Like for you, because like you already mentioned it with the soundtracks, but like with those soundtracks, like kind of like talk to me about like the period of time in your life where you first consciously linked film and music together in your head.
Uh, it was probably it was like maybe right after like after Drive happens and like the switch turns on, I'm like, yo, okay, so now I'm on the hunt for like soundtracks that hit. This is like important. If the soundtrack doesn't slap, I'm now gonna incorporate that into your film average, and you might score poorly. But
Damn.
things that I were hearing, it was like it's weird. It's kind of like because I catch things in such a peripheral sense sometimes, and like I don't always get to sit with things in the way that I would like. I kind of make my conclusions, or sometimes I'll have revelations off of like the fragments of these experiences. So like the answer to your question, I say I have to say that the answer to your question came from a multitude of things that I feel like I saw, and those minute moments encapsulated that. Like they showed me a connection, and the connection seemed vital, and it made mad sense. So examples that are like things like Belly. Like I
Yeah.
feel like outside of the way it was shot, it was just like and the literal connection between film and music because the actors are musicians. It's just
Yeah.
like it felt like from the beginning sound was always considered for the movie. Like it just like every sound had a point, and it's not even about it necessarily having to be some fucking song. Like it could be like from the instrumental things to the vocal things. The transitions don't even feel like transitions. It kind of feels like the music and the film are a thing. It's kind of hard to describe. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but
Nah, I think you are because and the interesting thing to consider about the interesting thing to consider about Belly is that Hype Williams directed that movie. So like that was probably like his whole like he was already thinking about that because he was like music video director extraordinaire at that point. So that was his whole shit. So that's a really good choice for that, by the way. Like that's because
oh, cool.
like it's like that's like the one, you know, like that's a super because like I feel like a lot of people feel that way, you know, that's something that's really universal, especially with that movie. So like so yeah, like considering all of that, like how would you say yeah, like let's take it to the inverse. Like how would you say that how would you say that film like or actually no, let me ask it differently. Would you say that film has inspired the way you make music at all?
Mm, I could say that maybe just off of the fact that I really admire um like generally I hate structure. I think structure is stupid. It's the exact opposite kind of like of my whole ethos. Uh, like I like chaos, and I like variables because I feel like that's what humanity is. I feel like that's what potential is. I feel like that's what blackness is. The ability to immediately adapt when necessary and change the perception or the magnitude of your value or your constitution or composition for whatever means. That to be the human experience in and of itself is exciting to me and cool. And I feel like things like structure kind of like infringe upon that, like structure, and of course, obviously, I'm exaggerating the incarnations of these things that I'm saying. Like, of course, there's necessity to structure, but like structure in it, like as a thing, is just like just to make it as layman as possible. Like you being a bird and you want to fly a certain way, fly whatever way you like, versus there being like maybe like tubes in like your society or whatever, and like every bird is restricted to a tube, and the tube has a predetermined path. You now have that choice revoked, blah blah blah. And it's like I feel like choice is vital, and people should always have access to it. Yeah, but the in films structure is very elegant to me, and like structure like films are better examples, are microcosms of that necessary structure that I just said I wasn't forgetting about. And it's just like there's so much to glean from structure utilized properly. And it's like I take that shit into like how I construct like my albums and stuff like that. And when I'm thinking of like a worldview that I want to give a body of work that I'm fucking with. And I guess even more simpler is just like whenever, like, depending on what bag I'm trying to get into for a verse, like the super hot imagery rap, like like with the whole drug rap shit, like
Yeah.
three heel flips, catch the quarter pint, snort the line off the Cuban model. Then I get into the Batmobile. It's pink. I got a robe. It's baby blue. I didn't see my shrink. Yada yada yada. Like
Yeah.
that shit is cool. Like the verbal high epitata. Like let me tell you about all the things I ingested in the last 72 hours on drugs. Put it 32 bars. That shit's always cool. The little mental exercise. Um, but yeah, definitely just off of a bigger thing like film. Film always looks like comes off as something that is aware of itself at all times, and it takes itself it takes the expression of itself seriously. Like whatever form it takes, the film, the genre, whatever it is, at the very least, I feel like a good one is always trying to convey its purpose in like a necessary way. And like when that's done properly, it's just like this streamlined thing that gives you bits of information at different parts that inform a whole thing that you take away at the end of it. And it leaves you sometimes feeling fulfilled, enhanced, or deprived, but at the very least affected. And yeah, to affect people with things in a not predominantly negative way, I feel like is something that should occur more. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I
And
hope I said something.
I think you did. You said a lot, and you said it really well, and you gave me some really like a lot of that is really interesting. But I think the thing that stuck out to me the most was that last bit, just about just like that sense of well being and just like mental clarity, because I feel like that's informed so many of the joints you've put out over the course of especially the last like 3 years, like since maybe like hmm from the Burning East with Love. I want to say like that's kind of where my like I've heard most of what you've done, but I think like that's where I think like that's where like my relationship with you kind of first started, at least with your music. And I think that translates. Like I just think that idea translates to like that almost seems like it's your ethos. Like you're very much somebody who wants to get shit out of their head onto a microphone, and that's really like you said before, that's cathartic. And that catharsis is something that you in particular have kind of been building on more and more with each project. And it's been really dope to see that come about, especially in things like like Mad Moon Mad Space, and like Hajmi and Ride a Roll and Fly to get like you've just been dropping crazy projects, and like that's kind of like that's the thing tying them all together for me. And like
That, that's
that's the thing tying it all together for me. So like um yeah, I just think that's really tight. And I agree. I think more people should take that into consideration when they record, because like people are looking for that, especially now. And like the people that you tend to run with when you create, like there's a lot of people, I'm not going to list them here, but like the people you tend to run with are kind of on that same path most of the time. And like so you're not alone in that regard. Like you're kind of being uplifted by mad people who are on the same type of time you are. And like as someone who kind of sees themselves as introverted or whatever, like how does it feel to make music and like connect with other people who make music of a similar vein and be like, we got each other, we're moving this way? Or am I fucking bugging right now?
nah, nah. It's cool. Like for me, I feel like I don't have a lot of friends. So whenever I feel like I can consider someone that, and I feel like you like, or at the very least, like you're saying, you can just identify that someone is on the same type of path. Like, oh, all right, cool. You're trying to like make sure you're paraphrased correctly too, or you're like we're all trying to make sure that we keep our accounts genuine. It's reassuring, it's comforting, and it eases the feeling of existential loneliness like a little. and that warmth is cool. And it's like, yeah, it just feels like, everyone is in their own city, but if fucking Dark Side pulls up, there's a button we could push, and like I know that there are gonna be some people in the tower that I could like think tank with, and we can assess this. And
Mm.
like knowing that you can have people to assess with, knowing that they're like you can look to both of your directions and see people who at least have like artistic integrity. It's cool. It's reassuring and a thing that every day feels like its soul is being like absorbed. So like that duality is going back to like that it's kind of like a hope. It's cool. Like it's like a hope.
It is like a hope. Yeah, that's a really nice way to put it. I'm fucking with that. So of course, one of those people who's kind of on that same type of time is Navy Blue, the,
Is
the
there
the God Sage. Like y'all are about to drop this project. I think, or I mean, it'll be out by the time everybody hears this, but we're recording it. I think it's out tomorrow, right? You're putting it out on Thursday or Friday.
yeah, tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. so
I
so
was
yeah,
thinking
talk.
about shit. Should I even say that? But yeah, you're right. This will be out afterwards. This is like I could say it.
Yeah, do your shit, bro. Yeah.
Fire. Nah, but yeah.
Yeah. We're programming live from the past right now. Um so yeah, talk to me about your relationship with Sage. Like when did y'all first meet and
Um,
what did you see in him?
I met. Oh damn! I met him. Holy fuck! It had to have been like 2019, 2018 or something, or like the end of that. But like Sifu introduced me, and it was just like yeah, he was like vaguely familiar with my shit, and then like Sifu was the bridge. I linked him at King's crib, Carter, and like a bunch of us was there, like Mike and Daryl, and like niggas was just chilling in the back, and he played some beats, and like I did my rappy thingy, and like it wasn't ass, I guess, and like that was like the first brick, and after a while, like we just like started talking, like pulled up on him at his crib, and then we would just build there, just pick his brain about like anime shit. He'd pick mine, like cause he'll always like try like before he'll dip his toe into something. Sometimes, like he'll ask me, like he always like, is this Gucci? Yada yada. I'll be like, yeah, that's hard. I'll run him a recommendation, and then this nigga also got Tekken. Now I had to beat the brakes off this man in Tekken. I had to
Ooh.
do that. So those types of things is like those are like the bonding exercises, and in between all of that, he'll be playing a beat or something, and I'll just be like, "Yo, give me that. What's up with that? What's good with that?" And like after a while, it turns into like three or four, and then it's just like, "Yo, this should be a thing." But as I was doing all of that, like Sage is cool. Like what I got from him, I don't know. I don't really like I see things in people, but it's like I don't know. It's like I don't know if I ever consider that when I develop relationships with them. I don't know if that's dumb or not, but I feel like sometimes I kind of just I leave space for people to be themselves wholly, and I keep any type of thing that I feel like I may see or an expectation that I may have separate. Like I let myself be informed by a person's natural state before I like cross reference it or compare it with like what I thought I may have gleaned earlier, just depending on like how necessary it is. Obviously, if I feel like someone is a murderer, I'm gonna assess that in my brain immediately. But like,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just like we do a lot of the same things. It's like we both like soccer, like we both skate. He's way better, obviously. Um, we both made music. We're both black, and we both like quirky dumb shit. So it's like we like I'll find like it feels cool because it's like once again going back to what I was talking to before about like the hope or like the the warmth presented by like the realization that like hey maybe it's not as lonely when you're able to just find somebody that you could chill with. This is exactly the type of feeling I got as I started developing my relationship with Pink Seafood. It's like that's another person that like I hold dear to my heart. So it's
Yeah,
kind of like, and
he's the
I'm a
best.
goofball. Yeah, shout out, Liv. I'm a
Yeah, Liv's the
goofball.
best.
My fucking my all of my bonds or my references to these types of things are informed by like fucking shows and cartoons and shit. So like I actually care about friendship and all of those things. So whenever I feel like I come across those types of things in the real world from people, you know, it makes me happy and comfortable. And I gotta be both of those things, I think, at some point to be able to make any kind of good music. Like I be depressed a lot, but at some point I have to like get out of that to be able to assess and reflect upon that. If I don't ever get to that point, I don't think I ever get the music out. So it's like, yeah, he was just a cool person to chill with. And it's like, yeah, he's a Gilgamesh at that too. He does mad shit. And it was always neat like pulling up on him and he's doing some other shit. And it's like, yeah, like he drew the cover for the project, and
Fire.
it's like, what the fuck, nigga? Like, stop doing that stuff. But oh man, he's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like at a certain point it's just like damn like yeah like I saw a Backwoods tweet about it maybe like 3 weeks ago. They were like yeah like they were like Navy Blues parents must be so proud of him, like what can't this nigga do? And I was just like yeah like he just does everything. Like it's like almost hard to keep up. But before we move on, I'm like really interested like in this whole like recommendation thing y'all had going on. Like was there like were there any like particular like movies or shows or any anime that you guys were like passing back and forth that's like that you can look at and be like, oh yeah, like he told me to check that out, or like I told him to check this out? Like was there anything that he sent you that you kind of like hadn't seen before and were like, yo, this is tight? I wouldn't have seen this if you didn't tell me about it.
Um, I don't think so. I feel like nah. I feel like everything that he told me I had seen already or I was familiar with it. But it was like he did I did fuck with like the area that he was in. You ever saw a psycho? I don't know if you ever seen Psychopaths.
I haven't finished it, but yeah, I'm definitely familiar.
Yeah, so it was like Psychopaths is like flame, so like, it was cool for him to be in that like area, and like I was like, yeah, man, run that up, and then like he got like the Full Metal Alchemist, like he asked me about that, and I was just like, you already know that's golden, so like enjoy that, and
Yeah.
yeah, he as far as like I'm trying to think of like he put me onto this funny ass YouTube shit, and this dude called Tycho, and like that shit was bad for but like yeah, so I mean yeah, he puts me on more to kind of like I don't want to say damn why is it so hard to word. mm, he put me on a little Ito. Do you know who Ito is?
I do know who Iso is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he put me on Ito. It'd be a mixed bag with like with what Sage will put me on to. As like and like yeah. And like I always be looking around people cribs and shit. So like I'll just pick up a book or something. I'll be like, yo, what's up with this? Run me that. And then he let me borrow a book. Like I got a book of Yoruba concepts from that I borrowed because it was sitting on his desk, and I was just like, yo, this looks neat. So yeah.
That's tight. So talk to me about talk to me about when y'all first started putting this new project True Sky together. Like when did it start? Like where were you guys' heads at? And like how did it come together?
Yeah, it kind of happened just like right out of the gate, like as we met each other, like all of these things, like it was because it wasn't Like it wasn't really called that. It wasn't a project yet. I was just we were just linking and then making music. And yeah, so that's probably around like 2018, like the end of that, or like summer into that 2019. And then like I put it on pause. Like I just I was doing other shit at this point. Like I was still trying to put out like I had other products to put out. And like that was kind of just a thing that I just wanted to see like what this would sound like. Like is this good? And yeah, I want to rap on some navy blue beats. So I had set those goals for myself on some side mission shit. Like it's like, all right, we should make some shit. And I had accomplished that goal. And then after that, I kind of like I treat like all my music. Like I can't really force anything. So like the things made themselves. And yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't. There was no exotic place that we went to, or like any like crazy meeting that we had like about like what we were trying to do. It was kind of like how I said like how I like to let people be
Show
themselves.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like that's kind of what we were doing. Like he didn't tell me we like I didn't think about a specific way I wanted to rap on his beats, or like he didn't think about specific beats for me. Like and I generally don't really yeah, like that's not necessary. Like very like unless I feel like I'm in a situation like a producer where they make certain types of beats for a person and like what they consider for me is just in my opinion not as good. I generally won't say anything because it's like nah, like I do want the authentic interpretation or what you feel comes out. But that wasn't here. Like I was pretty open to like whatever he played. Like there were things that hit, and I was just like immediately. And then there were things that like I've been told that I picked the quirky shit out of people's packs. Like I picked the old shit that they were waiting for someone to rap on or whatever the fuck. And I was like, okay, it just sounded nice to me. But yeah, man, send that over, man. Loop that up. And yeah, so that alone, like my selection, I guess, is quaint. I guess, yeah. And thankfully he fucked with it. And yeah, it was very organic in that sense. And it was never and it was like it wasn't like every day we every time we linked we made music at that.
Right.
So it was just like yeah, it was just like yo man, I would either pull up and he would be already playing something and he was thinking of me like yo man, I found this shit or I just made this, or it would be like he would be playing some shit like watching the TV or something, and then I'll hear something. I'll be like, hey, what was going on right there? And that's also how things were like. So the project comes together through a combination of like no planning, intention, and staying open to be susceptible to all of these methods of how moments or songs are created. Um, and I kind of took that method or at least that feeling into the rest of my shit. Like I already kind of don't try to force shit, but like even right now, like I just feel like it's important to not be too rigid on how you think you should expect something to spawn into your brain, and just be ready for it to happen. And yeah, I was able to do that a lot when we were chilling and making this.
Right.
Yeah, so
And yeah, I could tell because a lot of this, like, there are quite a few joints on here that don't sound like anything you've ever done. Like either your flow is kind of different, or like the beat is at, or like there's more of a BPM than you usually work at. Like some of them are some of the songs are faster, some of them are slower. Like it really seems like challenging isn't the word I would use here, but it does seem like you kind of stuck to that, like just like this whole idea you've been talking about this whole time of like letting people show you who they are, or like even like taking it a step further and like letting like a beat or just like music show you what it is, and you kind of just like fitting into that. Like, 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 I think the best examples of that would either have to be Deadass, Keep My Poise, or even like Incursio for like just those three songs are like all really crazy and just like stuff that I hadn't heard you do before. And I think it's really interesting that like you talking about this relationship that you guys have, like how the music sounding like this can come from this very like, yeah, like there was no planning here, but we had a lot of intention and we just kind of like worked at it when we felt like it, as opposed to this being a thing that you just like cranked out in 3 weeks because you felt like, oh, the people, like streets need it, which is like cool sometimes, but like it's refreshing, like we were like, like from before, like it was refreshing that you just kind of took it upon yourselves to be like, we'll work on this, it'll come together when it comes together. And now it's time. So because you said all of this, like I guess why did you feel like now was the right time to drop this as opposed to, like last year, 2019? Like why May of 2021?
Well, well, May I like 5 because it's like it's one of my favorite in supreme mathematics. 5 stands for power, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
concept like is really prevalent in like my being. So I always relate to that, and it's really like it's no other. I have no other tethering to the time in particular other than this is the appropriate time to, because everything else I got everything else out. Like like everything else that was before this, those things felt more immediate. And in general, my thing with my music is like I be making a lot of it and I be forgetting, and then I got Google Drives with projects and shit, and like my whole goal is to just get it all out like appropriately, and to get it out before I feel like I I surpassed it. Like I got to get it out while I can listen to it, and that's pretty terrible because I can't listen to a lot of my shit pretty quickly just off of like how long it takes me to record it, and then I gotta like sit there through that, and then how many times I hear it during the mixing process. So I get tired of myself really fast. So that puts me in this really weird type of thing where like I'm like racing my ideal self, or like maybe more better way to put it, like my ideal pace. And it's not like I'm rushing, and it's not like I don't like my pace. But I always just feel like, yo, man, I could do more, and I that's a feeling that I have in general, and it just bleeds into my music. So that's like an existential qualm that I haven't fully resolved yet. So yeah, but
Uh,
in general, like yeah, I just feel like it was time. Like I had got like Raph was like I had by the time I started making that project and I started making those songs, I already had plans. I already had things that I was working on. So I was like, I'm not gonna do this thing where I'm gonna derail all the shit that I had. Cause then it's like, all right, what would I have been doing if I didn't meet Navy Blue this year and I didn't develop this relationship? Like, what would I have been doing? Would I have just been on an island, like doing spins on my head? Like, nah, I already had shit in the tank. So I wanted to finish those things. And I did. And I also kind of told myself that like I've never really done it before. And like I always wanted to try like revisiting something when I feel like I'm better, and then like clash that more advanced me with like the previous me, and see like what I can get from the contrast or the difference. And I did that with this project, and it was cool. Like some things like I redid the take, and it's really cool because it's like now it's like I have, whether it's like I have better breath control or whatever it is, or like I'm more familiar with what my voice is and like my range. Like I yeah, taking in different things with like my flow and shit. Anything that can like polish or sharpen or more accurately make the expression of these words more authentic to me, that you gain through experience, that you gain through developing and like working on your shit, it was cool to revisit this shit with that refreshed mind, and I got what I wanted out of that. So it was cool. I just treated this project as a giant experiment for like how I approach music, and I kind of made a bet with myself that hopefully it would make me develop in the right direction. And so far, I think I'm okay. Hopefully, and yeah. So
That's tight. I think that's really interesting considering considering how prolific you've been over the course of the last couple of years. Like that's kind of a wrinkle to that I and probably a lot of people didn't really realize. Like I love the idea of you wanting to I love the idea of you recording music and then wanting to follow that up with newer music and just kind of do this comparison contrast shit with your old self versus your quote unquote new self and I'm wondering about all of this in relation to how many project because you dropped at least 4 joints last year, and being prolific like that for a lot of artists seems like it's a necessity in or like, if not a necessity, it's just really common in a way that it wasn't at least not it just feels like everybody is at a point where they feel like they want to drop 3 4 things at one time, even if they don't do it all the time. It's
they want to
that's
say
just
they did
kind
it
of
once.
what'd you
They
say.
want you feel like maybe people want to feel like they can say they did it once. Like yo, I had this period where I was just wilding. I dropped
Yeah.
one off, and 2 months later I did it again to him. Rewind again, 2 more months. The foot's still on you. Like people like that's hip hop energy. Like the
Right.
what better way to justify having your foot on your neck by oh every 2 months, every couple weeks promo for another project. Like we here again,
Right.
another one. Like so, yeah. I
Just
see what's
putting even
attractive
more
about
force.
it.
Yeah, and to you, you obviously get some sort of artistic fulfillment out of doing this comparison contrast thing, and it's all and it also kind of funnels back to what we were saying before about how this is just it's cathartic for you to just get this out of your head and and just kind of seeing like would it be wrong of me to assume that you're even looking at yourself and being like, hey, I was thinking like this before, and I'm either I'm still on that or I'm off that, does that happen to you often?
It happens to me all the time. And it's kind of just like, yeah. So I feel like the thing with which is I mean art in general, I guess it's kind of like everyone picks their like I feel like to say niche trivializes it, and I don't want to do that. But everyone picks their yeah, like their stance or like their true their prime theme that's going to inform everything that they do or they branch out into. And of course, there are subtleties and deviations into those things. Like for example, like if a political rapper chooses politics, like everything will be a springboard from the effects or the perception of that into everything. And the whole thing of that person, the whole job of that person would be to how much can they refresh that specific stance ad infinitum or whatever for the rest of their like career and ring that or like the or like even like a Rock Marciano for example or or any of the street rap shits like every album or like Pusha T Coke all the Coke bars
Coke.
like how many times can we refresh the Coke thing and glean something not only vital but pleasing to the ear, like feel that so it feels necessary sonically. And for me, I just feel like I go back to my shit and I look for those themes and I always just make sure that one like if I'm not saying anything different, am I saying it like why? Is there a reason that I'm still here? Uh is there a way to say this differently? Is that why? Or like I just get to the bottom of that. I look for all of the potential segues for growth, it happening or not, and then I try to figure out why. And I do that with kind of like every part of myself. And from what I'm thinking, how I'm expressing how I'm thinking, why I'm thinking these things, why am I not thinking other things, challenging myself to take on things that I feel like I should think about more. And like if I listen to something and I feel like I didn't touch on something that I feel like I'm thinking about, it's like, all right, how do I get myself to a place where I feel like I can get better at thinking that, or I just once again I'll deconstruct why I'm not expressing this, and yeah, and that's what I mean. That's what I mean when I say, like when I said earlier, my whole thing is just I'm just a hodgepodge of trial and error. I'm just an aggregate of just revision because that's my whole life. Fall down 6 times, get up 7, and
Yeah.
I just do that with everything. And the idea is that each time I clank the gems together, the result is just like a much more formidable diamond.
Right. And
Sorry
yeah,
if I said a
like,
lot.
no, you're good. No, that's that. No, like this is all like really dope. And like before I get to one of my last two questions, I just wanted to bring up the you mentioned, yeah, like you mentioned Push is a really great example of somebody who's like figured out a way to like talk about the same thing for damn near 20 years and just have it not be like he went from like 4.5 will get you in the game from grinding to like just everything he did on Daytona, like, and just like and like it's there's never really been a point where he's kind of like faltered when it comes to that, and that's like that's a skill. Like people can call it just like stale and redundant, but like he managed to find a way to make that specific thing, like not even like taking a specific style and using it to rap about different things. He took that specific thing and made it interesting for so many years and continues to make it interesting. Like that's a skill that I think people don't appreciate.
I
And it's
feel like it's weird though. I'm sorry, because I was
no,
like, doesn't
it's cool.
do you think? Because I feel like Jay-Z is the same way. I feel like I don't know. Like if I took a step back and I looked at all the blueprints, if I came back and then I looked at like Magna Carta or like Reasonable Doubt, it's kind of like there's an advancement in his worldview, and like as he walks into larger economic considerations and things like that. But like it's kind of like Marcy, drug reference, Bacoup, dollars, lavish, sample, just blaze. And it's like, obviously, I'm butchering this man's shit just because I'm a dweeb. But like, I don't know. Like, that's why you get what I'm saying. Like, I feel like everyone kind of finds their circle, and like that informs their stance. And it's like, so it's like that. Like that's kind of like hip hop. Like I don't really like. I mean, maybe you can be devil's advocate and you can give me an example of a person that naturally doesn't do that. Like an example of a rapper that is like super different in all incarnations of their thing. Like how you said there's like a guiding idea. Like how you told me like mine was catharsis. Like yeah, catharsis. Like everyone kind of has that thing, and that'll lead to like even like you're gonna like I feel like every rapper, there is no rapper that has not said the same word twice.
Yeah, like that's
So it's like
nearly
even things like
impossible.
also like on a conceptual level, it's like these cornerstones that inform people's whole identities to the point where they're conveying them on wax. It's like I feel like it's an error on humanity on society's part to like view that as like a sign of being stale or like trite. And it's just like, nah, like this is a cornerstone. Like this is a main idea in this book. Like that's why it's triple A. Like it's just like,
Right.
but yeah, am I wrong for that? Like, do you think like, for thinking that everyone kind of has their circle?
Not necessarily. Like I can't think of anybody like nobody comes to mind right now that really.
Defies
I
that?
mean, like I guess Kanye, kinda. I guess, but not even like I would say like sound wise, sure, but like content wise, not a. It's weird. Like there's nobody I can think of who like completely reemerges as like a different artist with every project
Like
drop.
you're a
Like,
butterfly here, and now we pulling up, and you're a chupacabra. Like, nah,
right,
maybe try and be a
like
butterfly with like rocket thrusters this time. But you still like the
yeah,
butterfly DNA is still present, and there's nothing
right,
wrong with that. The nuance and the ability to rearrange the atoms, that ingenuity, that adaptability that I was talking about, that is mad exciting to me about humanity, and that is blackness. I that is those are the true tellings of like someone that's got it. Like even look at Biggie. It's like R.I.P. to one of the goats. But it's like, yo, man, like I could probably write down like bullet points of what all of his music kind of touched on. And it's just like, but still, it was like his range within that vacuum
yeah,
is ridiculous. And like, but you see, there we go. It's like we're looking at an internal depth instead of an external. And it's like, yeah. So I just feel like maybe people's assessments of like where the stuff should be is off, but that's relative.
yeah. We it's like everyone has a foundation, and you can't really like it's hard. It's just hard to think of anybody who like really like destroys their foundation. Like maybe like they'll destroy an aspect of their personality they don't like anymore, but like usually the musical foundation is still present. Like somebody like that is somebody like Tyler the Creator. Cause like you look at the shit he was doing on Bastard, and you look at a thing like Igor, and like you would like I wouldn't fault you or not to think that they were two different artists, but like that it was the same artist at two completely different points. You know, like
Right,
he's not talking about the same shit,
right,
but he's talking about it in like a similar way and using similar sounds to create a similar template.
right.
Like he's the
Pilot
closest.
example of defying that. That's really good, actually. Yeah, I agree with that.
Thank you. Wow. So like yeah, like that's not to say that there isn't anybody who doesn't do that. Like I'm sure there are. I'm just it's just not popping in my head right now. But like yeah, I just think that idea is really interesting for sure. Um
What's your favorite movie?
man. So I'm gonna say damn. Uh hmm. Okay, I was just talking about it last night, so I guess I'm gonna say Black Dynamite is my favorite movie of all time right now.
Really?
I have a list of others that I love and that are like probably better than Black Dynamite, but like that's the one that's in my head. Like my answer will be different in 2 hours, but at this point in time, the one I've been thinking about the most is probably Black Dynamite because to me, like that's almost like it's a it's a near perfect version of exactly what it wants to be. And what that is a parody of the 70s black exploitation aesthetic. Like it's like note perfect the way they did it. They got the specific kind of cameras, they got the costumes, they like brought in everything with like the boom mic coming down from the top of the screen and all the different cuts and like with like different actors playing the same character and people reading cue cards like their goal was to create a parody of a specific kind of movie, and they did it so well that it almost works as the kind of movie they're making, but it's also like a commentary on and a tribute to that particular kind of filmmaking. And it's just so goddamn funny and just so and it just moves at such a crazy quick pace. And like the last 10 minutes are kind of corny. Like everything up until Richard Nixon comes in is like kind of like everything up until Richard Nixon is like really amazing shit. But like that last 10 minutes are kind of meh to me, especially now. But like that's a movie that I could cut on and it's gonna be like the first time I watched it every single time. Like it feels good. You know, it's like you were saying before, like that movie just feels good to me. Like it's just they really just got the aesthetic and it's just funny and like smart in its own way too. It's just I don't know. Like that's my one for right now.
It sounds like Deadpool. Like the way you described its existence and like how it's like a parody of a thing. That's like how Deadpool is.
Yeah, kind of. Like cuz like in a sense like Deadpool is kind of doing a similar thing cuz he's like he literally only exists to he exists as a reference to a thing. Like just like Black Dynamite. Yeah, I'm just putting this together in my head. Wow, like Black Dynamite exists as like both Black Dynamite and Deadpool exist as a reference to a specific medium
But in the
of like
process, they carved out their own identities.
exactly. There you go. You got it. You see me. So like so that's I never thought about it that way. That's really interesting. It's not a like Deadpool the movies don't really
Yeah,
go
nah,
like
yeah. Fuck the
yeah.
movies. Yeah, just Deadpool.
Like in the comics they kind of do because like it's really it's or just, I don't want to say it's really easy, but it's like it's more manageable. Not even manageable. It's just like it's different recreating the aesthetic of a particular kind of comic book within a comic book as opposed to like bringing it together in a movie.
Yeah,
Like
no, I
like
feel like the movie is a lot more ambitious, and especially the type of movie, it's way more challenging as a thing. Like I feel
yeah.
like I feel like Black Dynamite accomplished more than Deadpool. Like I don't know if that's obvious, but I feel like that's what
Yeah, I feel you. It's just like it's yeah, because like you look at the Deadpool movies and like they're not like filming themselves the way that the 2000s X-Men movies were filmed. They just kind of it's kind of
it's
like
movie. Yeah,
yeah, like it's just like surface level in that sense, and just like this is a thing that we all know exists. Let me just poke some holes in it and have some fun. Like the Black Dynamite shit is like we're gonna recreate this entire thing. We're gonna get Adrian Young to come in and like make the score for the movie and do it with all the like time specific material they used to make that shit, like with the recording equipment and the instruments. Like everything about it was as authentic to the time period as it possibly could have been, but it also exists as like a comedy in and of itself. It's just really like that's and like you think about it, like it's like actors, so it's like actors playing characters. It's like this really like delicious like layered kind of meta that I really fuck with a lot. And it's the kind of movie that you can just enjoy it because I feel like most people have like at least a general understanding of how movies were made back then. So like it's funny just on like the you can see the boom mic and he's reading off the cue cards, but like it gets even deeper if you like know the history, which is also something you could say about Deadpool, because like Deadpool also pokes fun at like things that we all know about comics that are kind of like weird and convoluted, and like he like there's a general understanding there, but if you know your history, you get certain references that he makes, you get certain like ways, you get certain lines he says, you get the way his outfit looks or like why he looks at that certain character like that. And like I love that relationship, whether it's in movies or in music or in comics or whatever. Like that stuff is really attractive to me, especially if I have enough of a frame of reference to be like, yo, I get why that thing looks like it. I don't know. It's just that's my
no,
answer for
it's
right
cool to
now.
be able to get the inside joke. Like,
Yeah,
like yo, like that laugh that you give once you get it, it feels much more earned, and it's just like it hits. But yeah,
facts. Yeah, nah, that's 100% facts. Um, so I got a couple more formal questions for you, and like the first one is like, so like when I see people write about your music, the word poetic comes up a lot. And I think like while I think that's valid, I think it's only like half true, because like your writing style is like really specific and descriptive, but it's like raw at the same time, like you have this like you have this ability to mix in like really like you have this ability to mix like $3 words in with like slang in this way where like every it doesn't sound like you're trying to crowbar words into a bar for no reason, because like you don't sound like you're trying to sound smart, like you're not like I know these words and that means that I'm like more intelligent than you or anything like that. And like the way you're able to mix this different kind of language, like to me that makes you unique. And like unique is another word that's thrown around hella often, but like your music to me doesn't really have very many precedents. Like there's no like progenitor to your one particular style. Like I like it's just really like there's something really unique about the way you put words together. Like I can't be like, oh, he sounds like he sounds like X, he sounds like Y, like you sound like Aesop Rock or Jay-Z or Vort Omega from Cannibal Ox. Like there's no, I can't like point to somebody and be like, AKAI sounds like that. Like you sound like you. And that's really hard to do, especially now. So like,
Thank you, first of all, for that.
um, yeah, you're welcome. Like, and that's no gas. Like, I've really been thinking about it for a while, and like, there's no way that like there's nobody that I can be like, oh, you just sound like you sound like them. Like, and like there was a bit on this project where you call your shit like incoherent banter. I think it was on Keep My Poise. That just like stuck out to me, and like, I guess like you know if you like if you felt the need to like boil down your style, like how would you do that? Like if somebody asked you like what is AKAI Solo's music, like how would you like break that down for someone, or would you even feel the need to break that down for someone?
I'm at a point where, nah, I don't feel like I have to break it down. But if I could, like, if I had to, like, if someone asked me, like, what do I call it? Uh, Resolute raps, like resolve raps.
Okay.
Like that's my like that's my stance. But it's like really, it's just like my whole thing is just like I feel like concepts inform everything. Like for me, for my thing to be resolve, like that internal motor that is needed for you to get up and do anything. Like you need you need motivation to get up, whether you're a doctor, a cop, a podcast host, a rapper. Like without that battery, without that spark, like I am the stone that the builder refused. Like
Refuse. I am the
without that
visual.
thing, you don't get anywhere else. So like I'm really intrigued with by that spark, and I like I identify with that spark, and I want to speak to it and speak for it and find my own place in it. And yeah, so it's just it's that's what I would call it. Like I'm the thing, the most crucial element. Like it's like that's what I like to pay attention to.
You're the stone that the builder refused.
Type shit.
Shout out to Asheru and the Boondocks
There,
for
bro.
real. Man, that song is crazy. Like, there's a whole story behind how I don't remember the story right now. I'm not gonna tell it, but like, there's like a whole story behind like how that theme song came together. Like, apparently, like all I remember is that like Aaron Magruder made him do a whole bunch of different takes. I think he made him do like 5 or 6 takes. He like posted about this on TikTok. Like, he made like a whole like 5 or 6 different TikToks like explaining how many times he had to like send in the song and like how it just wasn't hitting. And like I think like they made it to like the 6th one, and they were like, "This is it!" Like, so like if so like maybe I'll include a link to it on like the whatever shit this goes out on, probably YouTube and or like everywhere it goes. I'll figure out a way to make this
Nah, for
available for
sure.
people. I'm gonna find it.
If you find that link, send it to me at least. I want to
Yeah,
see that.
definitely. Yeah, like it was really interesting to me. So like my last like formal question for you is like I want to tie this all up with a quote from a art from an interview you did with my family over at DJ Booth. It's near the end of the piece. And you said I always remind myself that I don't know shit. You need to be honest about where you are so you can have an honest idea where you want to head. I don't assume I have a finite understanding of anything, and I'm constantly trying to crack my head. And that's like, I feel like that kind of speaks to everything that we've been talking about for however long we've been doing this. And I guess I was just curious, like over the course of your career, which is like a handful of years old at this point, and like people know who you are and you kind of have an established like ethos, like do you kind of feel like, how do you feel like this particular approach, because it's a good approach, and like how do you feel this particular approach has benefited you as you've kind of like continued to create music over the course of these last like because like that interview happened in 2020. So like it's been like a year and change. So like how do you feel you've kind of applied like how do you feel that's applied to you over the course of the last like year and change, if it has at all?
It kind of just reinforced like my persistence, but never feeling like I'm too good to revisit something, and which is kind of like during the course of this quarantine, it's doubled down and manifested itself in like this sort of like returning to basics sort of thing, where I kind of just sit with things that I always wanted to sit with, or things that I have sat with that I feel like deserve another go around, and I just keep myself really, really sensitive to anything that can can stimulate something like positive in my head, and that kind of has me reducing my like it's weird. I want to say like I recalibrated how I assess things. Like I regressed myself. I kind of try to look at things as if I was like a child. I try to let myself really be. I take myself back to that raw enthrallment and engagement. But like how that would be compromised by the lack of an attention span. I now reapply the developed attention span, and I try to just see if I can just absorb everything of utility. And that's really the thing that I'm like really just on right now, like utility. I'm not really trying to do anything that's not necessary. And
Mm,
I'm trying to get better at doing things that are necessary at that. So it's like this whole thing, I'm applying that to I'm applying that to myself in a sense where it's like I'm kind of like trying to not trying to I'm tuning myself up, and I'm just there's a lot of hours in the body shop of
mm,
like with my mental schematics as far as like what type of content I'm taking in, what parts of it appeals to me, and why it does. Like I took this shit to finish. Like I'm finally like I had this fucking 375 page shit, whatever. Like I've been reading Marcus Aurelius's meditations like on and off for the last
mm,
couple months. I had the PDF, and like I'm taking the time to finish that, and then like springboard it into the other things that I wanted to do. Then at times it's like there are certain skills that I wanted to like get, whether it be like socially or otherwise, or how to navigate certain things. Like I'll take that time to go revisit the things that I feel like are going to inform that. So whether that be like an interview or something like that, like so the short answer to what you're saying, what you're asking is I've just taken this time since I've said that to edit the hell out of myself,
mm.
and because like something that I feel like will forever be true for me at least. Like shout out to anybody else that feels fully fleshed out, but I'm a constant work in progress, and like I'm getting to a point where I'm getting really comfortable with that, but not letting that comfort breed some sort of like complacency.
Right. Because there's a difference between those two things for sure.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and like, I don't, yeah, like, I don't think there's anybody out there who would even, or like, well, let me not say that because I'm sure there are people who think they're, fully formed and all that shit. But yeah, I agree. At least like like I feel like everyone's a work in progress, and like if you're not learning, you're not living. Like you're just kind of like you like being stuck at a certain age. Like you're like 50 years old, but still thinking like you were when you were 22. Like if you're still thinking, like if you're still thinking like that fully, like obviously there are certain things like foundational things and like moral principles that you like need to and just like general like things that have kind of like informed your personality that should
right.
be there. But like if you see like growth is cool. That's all I'm gonna say. Growth is cool and it shouldn't ever stop if you're like really living the way that you want to live. I don't know, man. Like I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not gonna speak for anybody else because I can't really do that. But yeah, no, growth is just cool, and seeing you be so committed to growth is dope because like that's what makes the music interesting is like that growth, especially seeing.
Trying. Like, I guess a more literal thing is like now, every time I think of something that I want to get into, if I would have procrastinated, I try to like expedite that procrastination phase and I try to get it. Like that's why I jumped into the Sopranos. Like
Right.
I completely removed the like the borders, the blocks on where I think growth or something useful to my development as a person or framework can come from. So it's like I'll watch this show that has good dialogue, or this film, or I'll listen to this podcast. Like I had a little phase where I was just like I ran through a lot of Mike Tyson's podcasts just because Mike Tyson's perspective and the way he navigates things is very interesting to me. And it's like, yeah, so it's you don't know where it's at. You don't know where that next notch or that node to any type of advancement of your own being is. So
Yeah,
not don't look at everything naively, but stay open to the potential that all of these things can inform. Um, yeah.
that's it. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Who's playing Overwatch over there right now? Because I've been hearing fucking.
My shorty's playing Overwatch right now.
that's that's fire. Shout out to her. Who's she main?
Diva.
That's what I thought you were gonna say. Most people I know who play Overwatch main Diva. I'm a big Zenyatta person myself.
Oh, facts. I use Soldier 76. I just started playing this shit like this month.
So yeah, no, Soldier's a great character. He's also a good place to start because he's like the most like his shit really feels like he feels like a Call of Duty character, and then
Yeah,
everybody else is so different that like
yeah. Everybody else they get hectic, man. I don't
but
understand mechanics, man. All these beams and these people. And there's no focus. Like that shit fucks me up. Like you just gotta press R2, and I'm like, nah, man. Like at least GTA, you see how you get the whole R2, and there's like a sort of
yeah.
lock. Like I need
See,
the
okay, Soldier doesn't have that, but a lot of other people do. Like like Widow does. I think Ash does. Like all the sniper like most of the sniper characters have like a focus or like a
that's
stare down the.
because I'm not a good sniper. Damn it.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, I feel it though. There have been times playing Soldier where I really want to be able to like aim down the iron sight, but I just can't, and it's like, but nah, I feel it. Yo, son, this was dope. Like, thank
Yes,
you,
thank
man.
you.
Like, nah, thank you. Yeah, like this is this is like a really this is just a dope conversation, and just like we went so many places, and yeah, like I was like really afraid that I wasn't going to be prepared for this one for some reason, and like it's just like we've been talking about doing one of these for so long, and
Yeah,
like
man.
I was just afraid, but no, this turned out fire. So thank you, man, like for
Nah,
real.
bro. The pleasure is mine, bro. And it's like, yo, congratulations again on this endeavor. And you bodying it. Legendary shit, bro. You a goat. You already know it. You already know you the one. So it's like just keep at it.
I'm
Type shit.
having my I'm having my distance to the target every time, bro. So thank you. Like that really means the world. Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.